Marcus was a 12-year-old boy who liked simple things. He enjoyed walking home from school every day, carrying his books in his worn-out bag, and kicking small stones along the path. He lived in a small town where everyone seemed to know each other, but Marcus often kept to himself. He was quiet and shy, but he had a kind heart that made him notice things others ignored. That afternoon, the sun was slowly moving down, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. Children laughed in the distance, and cars passed by as Marcus took his usual route home. As he reached the park near the corner of the street, he noticed something unusual. A little girl stood alone near the swings. She looked very small, maybe 7 years old, and her face showed worry. She had a backpack slung over one shoulder and was holding a doll tightly to her chest. Marcus slowed down, wondering why she was standing there all by herself. The park was normally filled with parents or babysitters watching children, but this girl seemed to have no one around her. He could see her eyes moving quickly, as if she was searching for someone. Marcus felt a pull in his heart. He could have walked away, pretending not to notice, but something inside told him he couldn't just ignore her. Taking a deep breath, he walked closer and asked softly, "Are you okay?" The little girl looked up at him with wide eyes. For a second, she didn't speak, as if she wasn't sure whether to trust him. Then, in a small trembling voice, she said, "I can't find my way home. I was with my babysitter, but she got busy talking to someone. When I looked around, I didn't know where she went. I tried to find my house, but I got lost." Marcus's heart tightened. He thought about how scared she must have been, standing there alone while the evening grew closer. He crouched down so his face was level with hers and smiled gently. "Don't worry," he said. "I'll help you get home. Do you remember your address?" The girl shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "No," she whispered. "I don't remember the street name. But I know my house. It has a big red mailbox, a white fence, and a big tree in front." That wasn't much to go on, but Marcus decided it was enough. "Okay," he said firmly, trying to sound braver than he felt. "We'll find it. My name is Marcus. What's your name?" The girl sniffled and replied, "Emily." Marcus gave her a reassuring nod. "All right, Emily. Let's go together. Don't be scared. I'll stay with you until you're home." Emily held his hand tightly as they started walking. Her small fingers felt cold, and Marcus could sense how much she needed someone to trust in that moment. The town street stretched ahead of them, with houses that looked similar in many ways. As they walked, Marcus kept talking to her so she wouldn't feel afraid. He asked about her doll, and she told him its name was Daisy. He smiled and listened carefully, even though his mind was working hard, trying to remember if he had seen a house with a red mailbox and a big tree. People passing by looked at them curiously. A tall boy walking with a younger girl wasn't unusual, but the way Emily clung to him made it clear she wasn't just a sibling. Still, Marcus ignored the looks and focused on guiding her. They crossed streets carefully, waiting for the traffic light to turn green. At one crossing, Marcus stretched out his arm protectively in front of Emily, making sure no car rushed past. She looked up at him with trust, and he felt stronger knowing she depended on him. The journey wasn't easy. Emily would sometimes point at a house and say, "Maybe that one," only for them to realize it didn't have a red mailbox or the right tree. Each time, Marcus calmly explained, "Let's keep going. We'll find it." He didn't want her to lose hope. His stomach growled because he hadn't eaten since school ended, but he didn't tell her. He knew her fear was bigger than his hunger. As they walked, Marcus noticed Emily's clothes. She wore a neat dress that looked expensive, and her shoes were polished and bright. Even her doll looked like it cost more than anything Marcus owned. He wondered about her family, but he kept those thoughts quiet. What mattered now was getting her home safely. The evening air grew cooler. Street lights began to flicker on, casting soft yellow glows on the sidewalks. Marcus tightened his grip on Emily's hand. "Are you tired?" he asked. She nodded slowly, her steps getting smaller. "Don't worry," Marcus said. "We're close, I can feel it." He didn't really know if that was true, but he hoped his words would give her strength. Finally, as they turned onto a wide street, Marcus noticed something different. The houses here were larger, with tall gates and wide lawns. They looked nothing like the small houses near his own neighborhood. Emily's eyes lit up, and she pointed eagerly. "That's it? That's my house," she shouted. Marcus followed her finger and saw a huge home with a tall white fence, a red mailbox at the corner, and a giant oak tree in the yard. His heart jumped. He had actually managed to find it. But then, as they got closer, Marcus felt his legs slow down. The house wasn't just big, it was massive, with guards standing near the gate. The kind of place he had only seen in magazines or on television. Emily ran ahead toward the gate, still holding Daisy the doll. Marcus stopped a few steps back, frozen in place. He didn't know what to think. Who exactly was this girl he had just helped? In that moment, he realized this was not going to be an ordinary ending to his simple act of kindness. Something about this house, the guards, and the way Emily rushed inside told him the truth waiting ahead would be bigger than he could imagine. He stood still, his heart pounding, unsure of what would happen next. Marcus stood frozen for a moment, his eyes locked on the giant house in front of him. The tall iron gate, the neatly trimmed lawn, and the glowing lights that made the place shine like a palace. It was all too much. He had never seen such a house up close. His own home was small, with paint peeling on the walls and a squeaky front door. But this was something out of a dream. Emily, however, seemed comfortable. She ran toward the gate as if she belonged there, her small shoes tapping against the pavement while Daisy the doll bounced in her arm. Two guards in dark uniforms stepped forward, their eyes sharp as they noticed the little girl. One of them gasped, then spoke into a radio quickly. "We've found her," he said, his voice filled with relief. Marcus blinked. Found her? He hadn't realized until now how serious this was. Emily wasn't just a little girl lost in town, she had been missed, and people had been searching for her. Emily turned back and waved to Marcus with a smile. "Come on, Marcus. This is my home," she shouted happily. Marcus's feet felt heavy. He slowly walked closer, but his heart thumped in his chest. He wondered what kind of family lived here. He wondered what they would say when they saw him, an ordinary boy, dusty from school, standing at the gate of their mansion. As soon as Emily reached the gate, the guards opened it quickly. A woman came rushing out, her face pale with fear, then flooding with relief as she scooped Emily into her arms. She was tall, dressed elegantly, and her hands shook as she hugged her daughter tight. "Emily. Oh, thank goodness. Where have you been? Do you know how worried we were?" she cried. Emily hugged her back and pointed at Marcus. "I got lost, Mommy. But Marcus helped me get home." The woman's eyes followed her daughter's finger until they landed on Marcus. For a moment, her expression softened, and she looked at him with gratitude. But behind her, more people began to appear. Other family members, house staff, even a few neighbors who had gathered after hearing the news. Someone whispered loudly, "That's the mayor's daughter." Marcus's breath caught. The mayor's daughter? His legs nearly gave way. He had helped the most important family's child in town. Suddenly, the big house, the guards, and the expensive doll all made sense. He felt small in that moment, standing there in his worn sneakers and faded shirt. He hadn't expected this. He just wanted to help a lost girl find her way. Within minutes, flashing lights appeared down the road. A black car with tinted windows pulled up, followed by two police cars. Reporters came running with cameras. The mayor himself stepped out of the car, his face tight with worry until his eyes fell on Emily. His whole expression changed as he rushed to hug her. He lifted her in his arms, tears forming in his eyes. "Emily. My little girl, you're safe," he said, his voice breaking with relief. Marcus stood quietly at the side, unsure if he should stay or slip away. But Emily, still in her father's arms, called out again, "Daddy, this is Marcus. He helped me when I was lost. He brought me all the way home." The mayor looked up, and for the first time, his eyes met Marcus's. The crowd grew silent as the mayor slowly walked toward him, still holding Emily. The cameras followed, clicking non-stop. Marcus wanted the ground to open and swallow him. He had never been in front of so many people. The mayor stopped in front of him and set Emily down gently. Then he extended his hand to Marcus. "Son, I don't know how to thank you. You did something today that even grown UPS failed to do. You brought my daughter home safely." Marcus swallowed hard. His small hand shook as he placed it in the mayor's. The mayor gripped it firmly, almost like a promise. The crowd clapped. Some people even cheered. Marcus felt his face burn with embarrassment, but also with a quiet pride. Reporters began shouting questions. "What's your name, young man?" one of them asked. Marcus hesitated before answering, "Marcus." "How old are you?" another pressed. 12, he replied softly. Cameras flashed, and microphones pointed toward him. He had never imagined this kind of attention. All he had done was follow his heart to help someone. The mayor turned to the crowd and raised his voice. "This boy is a hero. In a time when my daughter was lost and frightened, he showed courage and kindness. We all owe him our gratitude." The crowd cheered louder this time. Marcus felt dizzy. He wasn't used to praise. At school, he was just the quiet kid who liked to draw and kept to himself. Now, everyone's eyes were on him. Emily grabbed his hand again and smiled. "I told you he was nice, Daddy," she said proudly. The mayor bent down to Marcus's level and said, "From today, you will always be welcome in our home. My family will never forget what you did." Marcus didn't know what to say. His mind was spinning with everything that had happened so fast. That night, the story spread everywhere. The local news covered it, showing Marcus's shy face next to Emily's joyful smile. People at school the next day whispered about him. Some kids looked at him with admiration, others with surprise. Teachers shook his hand. For Marcus, it felt unreal. But deep down, he didn't see himself as a hero. He thought about that moment in the park, when he first saw Emily looking scared and lost. He hadn't helped her because of who she was. He hadn't known she was the mayor's daughter. He helped because it was the right thing to do. The truth changed everything around him. People treated him differently now, but Marcus remained the same shy, kind-hearted boy. He remembered how small Emily's hand felt in his, how much she trusted him, and how her smile lit up when they finally reached home. That was what mattered most to him. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life had quietly shifted. He didn't know what was coming next, but he knew one thing, that simple act of kindness had placed him in a story far bigger than he ever imagined. Marcus woke up the next morning still unsure if everything that happened the night before had been real. He lay in his small bed, staring at the cracks on the ceiling of his modest room. His house was quiet, the kind of quiet he had known all his life. His mother was already at work at the diner, and his little sister was still asleep in the next room. He rolled over and saw his school bag on the chair, the same worn bag he carried every day. Nothing in his room had changed, yet he couldn't forget the lights, the cameras, the mayor shaking his hand, and the crowd clapping for him. It felt like a dream, but it wasn't. He had helped Emily, and now the whole town knew his name. When Marcus reached school that morning, He felt every pair of eyes on him. Kids who normally walked past him without a word suddenly whispered his name. "That's the boy who found the mayor's daughter," someone said. A few even clapped as he walked down the hall, which made his face burn with embarrassment. His teacher greeted him at the door with a big smile. "Marcus, we're all very proud of you," she said warmly. He nodded shyly, clutching his books. At recess, children crowded around him. Some asked what it was like to meet the mayor, others wanted to know if the guards had been scary, and one boy even asked if he was given a reward yet. Marcus just shook his head. "I just wanted to help her," he kept saying. But deep inside, he was overwhelmed. He had never been the center of attention before. Usually, he was invisible in the crowd. Now everyone wanted to hear his voice. After school, Marcus walked home the same way he always did. But this time, cars slowed down as people pointed at him. A woman he had never met stopped and said, "God bless you, young man." Marcus thanked her softly and kept walking. He didn't know how to handle this new attention. All he had done was something he thought anyone else would do. But somehow, it had made him different in the eyes of the town. That evening, something even more surprising happened. As Marcus sat at the small kitchen table, doing his homework while his sister played nearby, there was a knock at the door. His mother wiped her hands on a towel and went to open it. To their shock, standing outside were two men in neat suits. Behind them was a sleek black car. "Good evening," one of them said politely. "We're here on behalf of the mayor. He has sent us to invite Marcus and his family to dinner at their home tomorrow night." Marcus's mother gasped, placing her hand on her chest. "The mayor," she repeated, almost in disbelief. She looked back at Marcus, who sat frozen in his chair. The man nodded. "Yes, ma'am. He wishes to personally thank your son and welcome you all to his home." His voice was respectful, but the message carried weight. After they left, Marcus's mother sat down, still stunned. "Marcus, do you understand what this means? We've been invited to the mayor's house." Marcus felt his stomach twist with nerves. He wasn't sure if he was ready for something like that. But his mother placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You did a good thing, son. Don't be afraid. We'll go together." The next day passed quickly, and by the evening, Marcus found himself standing in front of the same giant house, this time with his mother and sister by his side. The guards at the gate greeted them politely and let them in. The driveway was lined with flowers, and the grand house glowed warmly under the evening lights. Marcus's mother held his hand tightly, her face showing both pride and nervousness. Inside, the mayor and his wife welcomed them warmly. Emily came running down the stairs and hugged Marcus tightly. "I'm so glad you came," she said happily. She led him by the hand into the dining room, where a long table was set with more food than Marcus had ever seen. There were plates of roasted chicken, bowls of fresh vegetables, bread still warm from the oven, and desserts that looked like they belonged in magazines. Marcus's eyes widened, and his little sister gasped softly. During dinner, the mayor spoke about how worried they had been when Emily went missing and how thankful they were to Marcus. He praised Marcus for his courage and kindness, saying that not many children would have taken such responsibility. Marcus listened quietly, his cheeks red. He didn't know what to say, but his mother spoke proudly. "Marcus has always had a good heart," she said. "I'm just glad he was there at the right time." After dinner, the mayor pulled Marcus aside to talk privately. They stood in a study filled with books and framed pictures. The mayor placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder and said, "You may not realize it now, but what you did was very important. You didn't just bring my daughter home, you reminded us all that kindness can come from the most unexpected places." His words stayed with Marcus, echoing in his heart. But as Marcus walked out of the study, he overheard two staff members whispering. One of them said, "Can you believe it? The mayor's daughter, lost on the streets, and brought back by a boy no one even notices at school. Life is strange, isn't it? The other replied, strange, yes. But maybe it means something bigger. Marcus pretended not to hear, but the words sank deep. He began to wonder if there really was something bigger about what had happened. Was it just luck, or was there a reason he had been the one to find Emily? When they left the house that night, Emily waved at him from the window, smiling brightly. Marcus waved back, his heart filled with a mix of emotions. He had stepped into a world he never thought he would touch, a world of power, wealth, and attention. But he was still just Marcus, the quiet boy from a small house. As he walked back home, the cool night air brushing his face, Marcus thought about how much had changed in just 2 days. He was no longer invisible. People saw him now. The mayor respected him. Emily trusted him. But deep inside, Marcus knew this was just the beginning. Something told him his life was about to take turns he never expected. And he was right. Marcus lay in bed that night thinking about the dinner at the mayor's house. The lights, the food, the elegant clothes, everything felt so different from his own world. He couldn't believe he had been sitting across from the most powerful family in town. Emily's smile kept replaying in his mind, along with the mayor's words about kindness coming from unexpected places. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story, something waiting to unfold. The next day at school, things grew even stranger. Teachers greeted Marcus warmly, some even patting his shoulder as if he had become a star student overnight. Children who once ignored him now wanted to sit near him. One boy leaned in and whispered, "Do you think the mayor will give you a scholarship?" Another girl asked, "Are you going to be on TV again?" Marcus didn't know how to respond. He wasn't used to questions like these. All he knew was that he had done what felt right. The rest seemed too big for him to understand. That afternoon, when Marcus walked home, a car stopped beside him. It was sleek and black, the same type that had come to invite him to dinner. The back window rolled down, and Emily's cheerful face appeared. "Marcus," she called out. "Daddy said you can come to the library at our house today. I want to show you something." Marcus hesitated. He looked at his worn-out sneakers, then at the shiny car. Part of him felt nervous stepping into their world again, but another part of him didn't want to disappoint Emily. She had trusted him when she was lost, and now she was trusting him again. He climbed into the car, and soon they were driving back to the mayor's mansion. When they arrived, Emily led him excitedly through the grand halls until they reached the library. It was a massive room with tall shelves filled with books from floor to ceiling. The air smelled of leather and old pages. Emily pulled him toward a small corner where there was a stack of picture books and puzzles. "This is where I come when I want to be quiet," she said. Then she pulled out a framed photo from one of the shelves and handed it to Marcus. The picture showed Emily standing between her parents during a public event. Cameras flashed in the background, and people clapped. She looked happy, but Marcus noticed something in her eyes, something he hadn't seen when she was with him. In the photo, she looked distant, as if she didn't feel free to be herself. Marcus handed the photo back carefully. "You look different here," he said softly. Emily sighed. "That's because everyone looks at me like I'm not just Emily. They see the mayor's daughter, not me. But when I was lost and you helped me, you didn't know who I was. You just saw me as a girl who needed help. That's why I trust you." Her words struck Marcus deeply. He realized then that Emily had carried a heavy truth. Even though she lived in a giant house and had everything she wanted, she sometimes felt alone. People saw her family's power before they saw her heart. Marcus felt a quiet responsibility settle over him. He wasn't just someone who had helped her once. He was someone who could see her for who she really was. As they talked, the mayor walked in. He had overheard part of the conversation, and his expression softened. "Emily is right," he said gently. You treated her like a person, not like a prize. That means more than you know. He stepped closer and placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. I want to tell you something important. When Emily went missing, the whole town panicked. The police searched everywhere, reporters filled the streets, and yet no one found her. You did. And you did it without hesitation, without fear. That shows the kind of heart you have. Marcus looked down, unsure how to answer. He never thought of himself as brave. He just thought of himself as someone who didn't want to see a little girl cry. But the mayor's eyes held a seriousness that made him listen closely. Marcus, the mayor continued, I want to make sure you have every opportunity in life. Your kindness should not go unnoticed. I've spoken with the school board about a scholarship program. You deserve it. It's my way of saying thank you. Marcus's heart pounded. A scholarship? That could change everything. He thought about his mother working long hours at the diner, his little sister needing new shoes, and his own dream of learning more than what his small school could offer. His eyes stung with emotion, but he held it back. Thank you, sir, he said quietly. Emily smiled and clapped her hands. See, Marcus. I told you Daddy thinks you're special. Marcus smiled faintly, but inside he was torn. He didn't help Emily to earn rewards. He helped because it felt right. Still, he couldn't deny that the chance the mayor was offering was something his family needed. That evening, Marcus and his mother were invited once again to the mayor's home. This time, it was not for a dinner, but for a small gathering. A few reporters were present, along with members of the community. The mayor stood proudly beside Marcus and announced the scholarship program in his honor. Cameras flashed as the mayor explained that kindness and responsibility should be celebrated, no matter where it came from. Marcus felt overwhelmed by the attention, but when he glanced at his mother, he saw tears of pride in her eyes. She whispered to him, "This is because of your heart, Marcus. Don't ever forget that." Later that night, when the crowd had left and the mansion grew quiet, Marcus found himself sitting on the steps outside with Emily. The stars shone above them, and the cool breeze rustled the trees. Emily looked at him and said softly, "I think you were meant to find me that day. Maybe it wasn't an accident." Marcus thought about her words. He thought about the way he had noticed her in the park when no one else had, the way her small hand fit into his, and the way their paths had crossed so unexpectedly. Maybe she was right. Maybe life had a way of bringing people together for reasons bigger than they could see. He didn't have all the answers, but he knew one thing for certain: his life had changed forever, not because of cameras or rewards, but because he had chosen kindness when it mattered most. And deep in his heart, he felt that the real truth about Emily wasn't just that she was the mayor's daughter. The real truth was that she was a child who needed to be seen for who she was, and he had been the one to see her. The morning after the announcement felt calm and bright. Sunlight poured through the thin curtains in Marcus's small room and drew soft lines on the floor. He sat up slowly, listening to the gentle sounds of his home, the kettle humming on the stove, his little sister humming a tune, and his mother moving quietly before work. For a moment, he just breathed in the quiet. Life had changed, but his house felt the same. The same creaky chair, the same wobbly table, the same picture his sister had drawn taped to the wall. He loved that feeling. It kept him steady. When he stepped into the kitchen, his mother smiled and set a plate in front of him. The toast was warm, and the eggs were simple, but they tasted like home. "You have a busy day," she said softly. "But no matter where you go or who you meet, never forget who you are." Marcus nodded. He didn't have fancy words, but he felt the truth in hers. He wrapped his hands around his cup of tea and let the warmth sink in. On his way to school, neighbors waved. An older man from the corner shop called out, "Proud of you, son." A woman tending her garden lifted her hand and said, Thank you for reminding us to look out for one another. Marcus smiled and kept walking. He still felt shy about attention, but those words felt different. They weren't about fame. They were about kindness. They were about seeing people and helping them feel safe. At school, the principal met him at the gate and asked if he could stop by the office after class. "We're planning something," the principal said with a wink. "I think you can help." Marcus spent the morning focusing on lessons, but his thoughts wandered to Emily and the library and the picture where she looked distant. He remembered what she had said, that he saw her as a person, not a headline. That promise to see people clearly stayed with him as he wrote math answers and underlined words in his reading book. After class, he went to the office. The principal and two teachers were waiting with a notebook open on the table. "We want to make it easier for any child who feels lost or scared to find help," the principal began. "We want a simple plan, something every kid can remember. Would you help us design it?" Marcus blinked. He had not expected to be asked. But an idea had been building in his mind since that day at the park. He took a breath and spoke slowly. "We could make a safe places map," he said. "Shops, libraries, the school gate, the park office, places with people who will help right away. And maybe a sticker, so kids know it's safe." The teachers leaned in. "What would the sticker look like?" one asked. Marcus thought about Emily's clues. Red mailbox. White fence. Big tree. He smiled. "A small red mailbox with a friendly check mark," he said. "Because a red mailbox was a sign that we were close to home." They loved it. The principal wrote it down, "Red mailbox, safe spot." He asked Marcus if he would be willing to speak about it at an assembly. Marcus's heart raced. Speaking in front of the school was scary. But he remembered Emily's voice and the way she trusted him. "I'll try," he said quietly. That afternoon, the mayor invited Marcus, his mother, and his sister to the town hall. Emily greeted them with a grin and tugged Marcus by the hand toward a large room filled with teachers, shopkeepers, and bus drivers. A police officer stood near a board with maps. The mayor spoke about a new community effort inspired by a simple act of help. "We are launching the Red Mailbox Safe Spot program," he said. "If a child is lost, worried, or unsure, these places will offer help without question." He turned to Marcus. "This idea started from a boy who paid attention, and from a girl who found the courage to say what she remembered." They opened the floor to questions. A grocer asked how to sign up. A librarian said she would put a small stool by the desk so little kids could reach the bell easily. The bus driver promised to keep a stack of Find Your Way cards, small cards with space for a first name, a parent's phone number, and a landmark the child would remember, like big oak tree or blue door. Marcus's little sister raised her hand and asked if the stickers could sparkle. Everyone laughed, and the mayor promised to look into it. In the days that followed, Marcus helped draw the sticker design. He wasn't a professional artist, but he liked doodling, and he drew with care. A bright red mailbox. A simple check mark. A small heart tucked into the corner that you only noticed if you looked closely. His sister colored sample pages while their mother smiled and shook her head at their focus. The town printer made the first batch, and volunteers split up routes to deliver them, one to the bakery, one to the corner shop, one to the school gatehouse, one to the park office. When the first red mailbox sticker went up on the bakery window, Marcus and Emily were there together, standing side by side. The baker pressed the sticker gently onto the glass, smoothed out the bubbles, and stepped back. Sunlight caught the red and made it glow. "There," the baker said. "A small promise in a bright color." Marcus felt his chest warm. A promise you could see. A week later, the school held an assembly. The gym was full. Children sat cross-legged on the floor, teachers lined the walls, and parents filled the bleachers. The principal introduced the new plan. The police officer explained what to do if you felt lost: stop in a safe place, ask a trusted adult for help, and share a simple clue about your home. Then the principal invited Marcus to the stage. His legs felt shaky, but he walked forward. He didn't try to be someone he wasn't. He looked out at the faces, some curious, some hopeful, and told the truth. "I helped Emily because she looked scared," he said. "I didn't know who she was. I just knew she needed someone to walk with her until things felt safe again. I think all of us can do that for someone. We can listen. We can look around. We can stay with them until they find their way." He paused and swallowed. "If you ever feel lost, please remember the red mailbox sign. It means someone is ready to help." The gym was quiet for a moment, in the best way. Then the room filled with gentle clapping. Not loud or wild. Just warm. Emily walked up on stage and handed him a small box. Inside was a simple compass on a thin cord. "For your pocket," she said with a shy smile. "So you always know you're pointing someone the right way." Marcus couldn't speak. He just nodded and slipped it into his pocket. In return, he gave her a small journal he had bought with his saved coins. On the first page he wrote, "For the stories you will tell when you are just Emily." As the program grew, little changes began to bloom around town. The park office placed a bench near the swings with a small sign that read, "Ask for help here." The bus driver added a bell near the front labeled, "If you need a hand." The librarian kept a basket of apples for kids who missed a snack. The corner shop owner taped the red mailbox sticker beside the door and set a glass of water on the counter every morning in case someone needs a moment. Marcus still took his same walk home, passing the same fences and the same trees, but now he saw new pictures taped in windows, a red mailbox drawn by a child, a "Find Your Way" card on the fridge, a compass doodled in the corner of a worksheet. He began tutoring 2 first graders in reading after school as part of his scholarship service. He didn't talk much about the ceremony or the cameras. He just sat with them in the quiet corner of the library and sounded out words, patient and steady, the way someone had once been patient and steady with him. One afternoon, the mayor invited Marcus to the library again. This time, the room was empty except for the soft ticking of a clock. The mayor set down 2 letters. "These are for you and your mother," he said kindly. The first letter confirmed a scholarship fund in Marcus's name. The second offered a summer program at the City Museum for students who like drawing and maps. "I thought you might," the mayor added with a smile. Marcus's heart lifted. He could learn to draw better, to design clearer signs, to help people find their way in even more places. On the steps outside, Emily sat beside him and swung her feet. "Do you think the red mailbox signs will help kids in other towns too?" she asked. Marcus looked at the compass in his palm and then at the neat sticker on the library door. "I think good ideas travel," he said. "Just like people do. And kindness travels fastest of all." Emily leaned her head on his shoulder for a moment. They didn't need more words. That weekend, Marcus walked by the park where it all began. The swings moved a little in the breeze. A small boy stood staring at the map board, looking uncertain. Marcus walked over slowly. "Hey," he said gently. "Need help finding something?" The boy looked up, eyes unsure, then nodded. "I can't find the bus stop to my auntie's house," he whispered. Marcus smiled, pointed to the red mailbox sign at the park office, and said, "Let's go ask together. We'll figure it out." They did, step by step, like he had done before. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky with soft color, Marcus paused by the bench with the "Ask for Help Here" sign. He touched the compass in his pocket and felt the anchor of it. He thought about his mother's steady hands, his sister's bright drawings, the principal's trust, the baker's gentle promise, the librarian's quiet kindness, the bus driver's careful routes, the police officer's calm voice, the mayor's open door, and Emily's brave smile. He realized something simple and true: the town had not changed because of one big act. It had changed because many small acts lined up like stepping stones. Months later, the summer program taught him how to turn a rough idea into a clear sign. He learned about colors that help people see from far away and words that make a map easy to read. He made a little booklet called Find Your Way, with simple pictures and kind, plain sentences. On the last page, he drew a red mailbox beside a big oak tree and wrote, "Look around. Someone nearby cares." When he handed the first copy to Emily, she grinned and wrote her name on the inside cover, just Emily, in neat letters. He laughed softly. It felt right. She was still the mayor's daughter, but she was also a girl who loved books, liked secret corners of the library, and knew how to find her own voice. Marcus walked home with the evening light on his shoulders. He didn't feel famous. He felt useful. He felt ready. He had learned a truth that stayed with him wherever he went: sometimes you help a person find their house, and sometimes you help them find themselves. Both journeys matter. Both are a way home. And the boy who once kicked stones on his walk now carried a compass in his pocket and a map in his heart. He paid attention. He listened. He walked beside people until the world felt safe again. That was his way. That was enough.